Good morning. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News Now, coming to you from our digital desk. You're looking at a live picture outside of the Cleveland Heights City Hall. We're about to hear from the family of Christian Thomas for the first time. It was back on August 29th, a couple of weeks ago, at about 10 o'clock at night, that family called police because Christian Thomas, just 18 years old, was having an argument, a dispute with his father in their Cleveland Heights home. When police arrived, there had been 2 shots fired inside the house as the argument with the father and son went on. At some point, Christian comes out of the front door. By this point, Cleveland Heights police officers had gotten to the scene. They even took up tactical positions. And I should note that this morning, Cleveland Heights released body cam from 2 of the officers at the scene. We have decided as a news organization not to show the video. One, it is extremely graphic and you hear a number of shots. And then 2, that's the other problem, is it is very dark outside the Cleveland Heights home. You don't see much. You can't tell who shoots first, who fires first. You can't tell if Christian fired at officers or did officers shoot first. You can't see any of that in the video. But the family, along with their attorneys, are going to be speaking for the first time here in front of the courthouse. You can see a number of them gathered already. What we're going to do is I want to play one of our stories from Harry Boomer that did a story shortly after the incident. The 3 officers that fired were placed on paid administrative leave while the Bureau of Criminal Investigations, that's the state arm of the Attorney General, investigates this case. And we'll make sure we don't miss any of the news conference with the family. But take a look. This will help lay out exactly what happened that night back on August 29th.
Last night on Yellowstone Road in Cleveland Heights at about 10 p.m., police were called to a house where a domestic dispute was taking place between a father and his son. Police say they heard at least 2 shots inside the house, and at some point, 18-year-old Christian Thomas attempted to leave his family's house.
Christian subsequently exited the home while still holding the gun, encountered by CHPD officers at the side of the house. 3 CHPD officers discharged their weapons, injuring Christian.
Chief, at any point did Christian point the gun at the police officers or fire at them? I know that there was a report of his having a gun, but in Ohio, one is legally allowed to have a gun. Did he point it at the police officers? Did he shoot at the police officers? Why did they feel the need to use lethal force?
That I don't know. Like I indicated, this is based upon my preliminary review of the incident. We still have reports to be filed and completed, so I'm unaware of what happened in particular at that point.
Again, that was our Harry Boomer the day after the incident in question. At that point, we had not seen the body cam video. We have seen it today. Again, our news organization has decided not to air that video. It's extremely graphic. It also does not really show anything that would let you, the viewer at home, come to any conclusion about whether or not this was justified on either side. You do hear officers when Christian exits the house. They do make a comment that they see him leaving the house and that he does have the gun. But then it's a number of minutes later that police officers are hiding sort of in the woods on the side of the house. They're in tactical positions behind trees, and you just don't see anything. It is completely dark. You see the back of trees when all of a sudden, after a couple of minutes, after observing that Christian had left the house, then you just suddenly hear gunshots, and it is a multitude of gunshots. There are more than just 2 or 3. Have not counted them at this point, but it is in excess of 10 to 15 to 20 shots. And then they do rush to Christian. They are giving him orders to put his hands out to the side. Obviously, he had been shot. He's not moving. They give that order a number of times, approximately for maybe 30 to 45 seconds. before then they approach the body, still unsure if he had the gun. And that's when they immediately start rendering aid. So they do try and administer CPR for a number of minutes there at the side of the home. But it ultimately, as you have heard, ended up with Christian's death. We're talking about 18-year-old Christian Thomas. That happened back on August 29th. And the family now being represented by the attorney founded by Johnny L. Cochran Jr. The Cochran firm is representing the family in this case. We're not exactly sure what we're going to hear today, but we did want to make sure that we let you know that we have reviewed body cam video, and it is just far too graphic when they approach his body and start giving CPR and administering aid. It is extremely tough to watch. And then the other side of that, it is that when the shooting starts, the video is just dark and they're behind trees. You don't see Christian Thomas. You don't see where he is. You have no vantage point during the shooting where 3 officers fired shots at the 18-year-old. And it just doesn't give you, the viewer, any opportunity to come to any conclusion. That, along with how graphic the video is, we've decided as an organization not to show it. We see a number of the family members there waiting to speak for the first time, perhaps to tell us exactly who Christian Thomas was, just 18 years old. We had heard from the mayor. Our Harry Boomer did an interview with the mayor shortly after the shooting, who said this young man was a Cleveland Heights young man, that he grew up in the community, and this was just extremely tough for the mayor to even come up with the words into the shooting of this. Let's remember, go over the facts before we get to this news conference. It was August 29th. It was about 10 o'clock at night. The family called police to the house because Christian and his father were in a dispute, were in an argument. When police arrived, they sort of cordon off the area. They block off the streets. In the body camera video, you do see some of that. And as police are waiting for anyone to come out of the house, they are talking to different family members. You can hear the father and Christian still screaming, yelling at each other inside the house. And the father is telling him to put the gun down. And it is somewhere shortly after that that Christian exits the house, comes out the front door, shuts the front door, and you hear police say he does still have the gun. But from then on, we can't see Christian. We can't really see the house. And then when the shots fire, we can't hear, or we can hear that, but we can't see any of the details surrounding that. We would show you the video if it did not appear that Christian had the gun with him at the time. We would show you the video if it appeared that Christian raised the gun and pointed it at police. We don't see any of that. And so that's the reason we're not airing it, because there is nothing to be gained other than hearing the shots, hearing the arguing between Christian and his father, and then the multitude of shots, and then just the extreme graphic nature of the first responders, the officers there trying to render aid. We're going to wait on this news conference that should have started here at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. You see a number of the family members there trying to stay a little bit cool in the shade as we wait for the attorneys and family members to address, really for the first time, anything we know about Christian Thomas and perhaps what happened that night and the family's view on the use of deadly force. Again, this is being investigated by the Ohio Attorney General's investigative arm, BCI, Bureau of Criminal Investigation. They are handling the use of force. It generally takes quite a while, 6 months to maybe even a year, to get the final report from the Attorney General himself or one of his assistants that they are investigating the case. But again, I think what's going to, and this is only because this is the body camera video that we have seen. We're not sure if there were other cameras around the home, if there were neighbors that had camera that may have shown. We're not sure yet. We will have to wait for the BCI to give us all of that evidence once their investigation is complete. But this, just based on the body cam video that we have seen, is going to be very difficult to come up with a determination. It looks like we've got one of the attorneys from the Cochran firm, and it looks like we're ready to get underway. Let's take you live to the Cleveland Heights City Hall.
Good morning. Stanley Jackson of the Cochran firm. I'm here with Mr. Farrell Thomas, the father of Christian Thomas, who was tragically killed in Cleveland Heights on August 29th in this community. We're here today because we wanted the community and the world to know who Christian was. Christian was a young man who was a spelling bee champ, a national spelling bee champ, a saxophonist, a beautiful young soul whose life was cut short. On the night in question, unfortunately, Mr. Thomas, being of this beautiful community, called this police department looking for assistance and help. Now let me tell you a little bit about Cleveland Heights and why he would call this community. He and his family are from Cleveland Heights. They've been residents, and their family has been residents for over 50 years. This is the same community that Jason and Travis Kelsey has talked about the diversity and the inclusion and the tolerance and the acceptance. It's one of the most diverse communities in the country. It's a model community, as in the members of the community. However, but the police department is not, because Mr. Thomas called looking for help. Living at Yellowstone, just down the street, 8 houses from this very police department. He called for help, and as he was told to leave the house, he left the house. And as he left the house, he said, "I'm not going to leave my son." They demanded that he come out. And when he came out, the last plea that he had to the police officers were, "Don't kill my son." Moments later, Officer Stevens pulls out an AR rifle and guns down his son as he's running through the backyard into the front yard. Mr. Thomas is here because he's looking for answers. We would hope in a community that is this diverse and is supposed to be a model community that there would be transparency. We've demanded, along with other organizations that are interested, demanded for the release of all the body cam footage. We've demanded for the release of all the officers who were involved and reports. It's been 2 weeks, we have not received that. We would hope that today will spark this police department and the mayor to be transparent. If we, or this community, is supposed to be the model community of the United States, then it should do the model thing by being transparent and open in sharing information so that we can get to the truth and justice for Mr. Thomas. I have with me the president of NACP, president of Black Lives Matter, president of Citizens for a Safer Community, and I have Art McCoy here. There is no mystery that we all have come together because we love this family, we support this family, and we know how much this family and Christian meant to this community. It is a tragedy that we are even here today. Once again, this is a community that touts itself on being diverse, inclusive, and tolerant. And unfortunately, when the moment came, that is not what this family got in return for their loyalty and their community and their commitment to Cleveland Heights. Now we'll have Kayla Griffin of Black Lives Matter, if you will step up. I mean, of NAACP.
Kayla Griffin Grain. I'm the president of the Cleveland branch of the NAACP. We are here standing with the family because, as you have heard and as you will continue to hear, we want to have transparency in how policing is done and how our communities are governed. There is no way that this would happen to a white family and we would not have transparency. There wouldn't be an urgency to talk to the families, to talk to the lawyers. And so we are asking that all of the body cam footage be released. We are asking for reports to be released and shared not only with the family but with the investigators. We are hoping that this will be a fair and transparent process, but it is not starting off that way. And so we at the NAACP will be sending a letter to the officials as well, a public records request asking for all of the body cam footage to be released and all of the reports to be released so that the investigators, the BCI, can begin the investigation so that this is not stalled, so that it does not appear that they are trying to adjust footage, doctor reports, and that this is something that they will put out in the media that it is not. We want to be able to see and judge for ourselves, and we want justice to be served. Thank you.
Brenda Bickerstaff, Citizens for a Safer Community.
I'm Ms. Bickerstaff. I'm the founder of Citizens for Safer Cleveland. I know too well what this family is going through. I lost a brother, Craig Bickerstaff, that was killed by the Cleveland police in 2002. I lost a niece in this jail, Rakina Jones, that died in this jail in 2015. At the end of the day, I'm going to piggyback off of NAACP president. Right now, as a PI, and I investigate these cases and other cases, right now, I know that you're doctoring this information. Because first of all, the day that it occurred, that information should have been stripped from those officers and sent immediately to BCI with proof that it was sent. Do not doctor these reports and do not delete information on these body cams because you are going to be called out. I was up here right after it occurred, and one of the officers told me, Sergeant, oh, it's going to be transparent. I can't tell. Because the family should have known, and the attorney, Mr. Jackson, that that information was going immediately. You don't wait. You don't halt. You do it immediately in an instance. So there will be no question about your intentions. So I'm here today to say transparency. If we don't get it, we're going to keep coming at you until we get it. Thank you.
Art McCoy.
Many of us in the community, including myself, have to go over this pain over and over again. I myself was abused by the police years ago. So when I hear of a case like what happened in Cleveland Heights, I suffer all over again as many of the other young black men and women suffer all over again. That's why we are so saddened that our dear brother here has, and sisters and family have to go through the same pain. On the news right now, they're talking about the football player in Florida, how he could have been murdered by zealous police. We feel like this case here is the same way. He's just not a football player, but he has a dad, he has a mom, he has family. And they feel the same way as I stand here with this sister. And I want to leave you the words of this family. No truth, no justice, no peace.
No truth, no justice, no peace.
No truth.
No truth.
Come on, y'all. No truth.
No truth.
No justice.
No justice.
No peace.
No peace.
You will not have peace until justice is served.
I just want to say that my Christian is a lovely boy, and I will miss him.
Tanya.
Morning. First, I want to extend my condolences to the family in this community. I am sorry for your loss, and I hate that I have to be here. But I'm here because I, too, am a family that was directly impacted by policing. Tamir Rice is my 12-year-old cousin. He was killed by police in Cleveland. We'll be celebrating his 10-year anniversary. So I am tired. I am upset, and I am angry that we constantly have to continue to do this. We constantly have to continue to show up for families because police are out of control. This is ridiculous. Whatever happened to first call? There's a crisis intervention team here. Why weren't they sent to the scene? This is unacceptable. For police officers to be carrying AR-15s, we just had school shooting. 4 kids were killed. This is ridiculous. Our streets are war zones because of police officers who don't know how to control themselves, who don't know how to abide by the law. We need to end qualified immunity and hold these officers accountable. I am tired of showing up for families. I am tired of going to funerals because of overzealous policing. It's ridiculous. Historically, our communities have suffered because of policing, because of police officers who fear for their life. You shouldn't be a police officer if you fear for your life that much. Where is the order to serve and protect? Christian needed help that day. You were supposed to be there to help him, to serve and protect. You killed with impunity. We want answers. We want transparency. And like they said, we'll be back. And we're going to keep coming back. We're going to march these streets and we're going to stand in front of this building until we get answers. Christian was somebody. He was loved. He was a brother. He was a son, a grandson, a nephew, a cousin, just like Tamir. He deserved to live. He deserved to live. We want answers. We want transparency, and we want the videos released immediately. Immediately. Thank you.
Now, I do want to point out to you guys something that I'm sure you probably have read. The police chief of this department has come out and said that he has reviewed the body cam and he did not see Christian with a gun, nor did he see Christian point a gun at the officers. He made that statement earlier to the press a week ago. Unfortunately, we don't have the body cam that he's been talking about that he's reviewed. He's the police chief. He has access to all the body cam. So let's not make a mistake that other statements about there may have been a gun, he may have pointed a gun. The police chief of this department, about his officers and the incident that took place, the tragic killing, said, and I'll repeat, that I did not see Christian with a gun and I did not see Christian point the gun at any officers. And then he concluded with, this was tragic. Now we're going to have the neighbors of Christian who he died in their yard. They have a Black Lives Matter sign in their yard. A supportive family. He was running to their yard for safety. Please come on. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Woda. This is my husband, Brian Thornton. And we are the next door neighbors of the Thomas family. I actually grew up in Cleveland Heights. I went to Coventry and Roxborough and Heights High, graduated class of 1989. And anyone who's from this community has a lot of pride in this community. We love it here. We love the diversity. It's not just racially diverse, it's economically diverse, it's religiously diverse. And we all, you know, I mean, every community has their issues, but we all feel so much pride in the way we coexist and live and let everybody live the way they wish to live here. And living on Yellowstone across the street next to the Thomas family has been great. We moved in 2018, but we had moved from 3 blocks away because we wanted to stay in this community. Our daughter is very, very good friends with the Thomas family's daughter, Jenny, and she's been on vacations with us. Grandma Mary brings her granddaughter to the music classes that I teach, and we are just very, very close. And so to have this happen, like you said, less than 10 feet away from the Black Lives Matter sign that's been in our yard for years, just to me, just felt like the hugest piece of irony ever. You know, Cleveland Heights, we stand for unity, we stand for Black Lives Matter, and I was just completely devastated that our police decided to just ignore that, and when the family called for help, they ended up just killing him in our front yard.
I'm Brian Thornton. I'm a neighbor of this beautiful Cleveland Heights family, the Thomases. You know, we saw this wonderful young man, Christian, walking his dog all the time in the neighborhood. We would share dinner with them. And Cleveland Heights should be better than this. You know, I think the least that we can ask for is transparency. When we're dealing with such a wonderful family, such a great group of people that live in Cleveland Heights, I think we need to expect to be better, and we need to be better. And we love the Thomas family like family. They are our family. And we miss Christian so much.
At this time, if there are any questions that you may have for myself or the family, we will take them.
I wanted to ask, the police chief said that he had reviewed some of the body cam footage and said that he didn't see a gun pointed or in the hands of Christian. What do you think the holdup is on releasing this footage to the public, to the family?
To be honest with you, if I had that answer, I'd be able to read minds, right? Or I would have something so valuable that I probably wouldn't be a lawyer at this point. But to be frankly honest with you, I'm not sure. I mean, I would hope that they would be, you know, this community touts themselves on being transparent. This very police department has an academy where they're teaching officers that go out to other communities. So it's very alarming to see them act in this behavior. It's very alarming to see one of their officers who was carrying AR rifle and killed Christian. But, I mean, to answer your question, I mean, he's already answered the question that we all have wondered. Did he have a gun and was he a threat? He's already answered that question. At this point, the body cam footage is just more evidence of what he saw himself. But we don't have the luxury of that.
Just to be clear, he said that he saw some of that footage. Talk to reporters.
As a police chief, the police chief is more than likely going to look at the most critical footage before he makes a statement. He is the chief. So there is no other footage, or there should not be any other footage, that would show anything contrary to what he would say. He knows better than to speak to the media and make that statement without reviewing all of it. So, yes, we have seen it, and we know that that footage doesn't show anything, as you very well have probably looked at it. That's the same footage we received. We also know that BCI is doing an investigation, and they have yet to receive all of the footage. So the investigating body who's supposed to be investigating you, you haven't released, you meaning Cleveland Heights Police Department, has not released that footage to them as well. That's a problem. We're 2 weeks out. That's the first thing that should happen. Questions?
Yes. From the little body camera that we were able to see, hear shots fired, but do we know if it was Christian that fired the first shot? It was unclear during the press conference when we talked to them several weeks ago. You hear shots fired, but do we know that Christian was the first to shoot?
So I don't want to speculate. I've seen the same video. We've done our research. As you very well know, the Cochran firm, started by Johnny Cochran, we're very thorough and aggressive in our research that we do and when we represent families. We know that there were at least 6 officers minimum that were there. We know that at least 2 officers went to the back of the house. We know that from the video that was released to us that one of the officers told 2 of the officers to go to the back. That was not the same officer who was carrying the AR who was in front of the house. So I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. The officer who was in the front doesn't know that there are 2 officers in the back, to be frankly honest with you, because it's not radioed over to the other officers. So there is an issue here. And those 2 body cams from the officers in the back will tell us a lot more than what we all have questions for. We'll get maybe a clearer picture. But I suspect that's why you haven't seen them, I haven't seen them, and BCI hasn't seen them.
I wanted to do a follow-up. Obviously, you saw the other disturbing part is handling after. Do you have a comment on the fact that cuffs were put on Christian?
Yes. Once again, we talked about this community being a diverse, accepting, tolerant community. It's a model community for the United States, right? This is what Cleveland Heights is. And in his time of need and emergency, those officers did not respond in a way that we would expect professionals to do, people who are supposed to be part of the community that respect you. It was clear that he was in distress. It was clear that he needed medical attention, and it was clear that those officers either A, didn't care, or B, didn't know what to do.
I have a question. First, do we have an autopsy report? Do we know how many times Christian was shot by these 3 officers?
You said...
Autopsy report, do we know how many times?
No, we do not have an autopsy report. So, once again, when we're asking for transparency, we want all the records, right? We also know that normally the medical examiner, or some people call him the coroner, takes his time when he does the report. And unfortunately, those reports don't come out, for 3 weeks to a month. We suspect that that report will come out. The medical examiner is normally pretty good at least sharing that with the family. I've asked for that report, and I'm sure at least through their office, we will get the report as soon as it's available.
Have you been able to obtain any names of these officers?
I've only been able to, no, let me say that. I've requested the names. I know that Officer Stevens was the one who had the AR who shot, because his body cam, his name is on the body cam, so unless it's some other officer's name on another body cam, that's the only person that I know of. There was an Officer Perez who was there. One of the officers mentions his name. So we're left to our own to try to figure this out. That is unfair and unreasonable. That is not what a police department in a model city is supposed to be doing. That is not constitutional policing. And just like you want the information, we have the same amount of information you do at this moment, 2 weeks later.
Time and time again, we come across these incidents, right? We call police for help, and that's what we are expecting. So what kind of message does this send nationally? This is not just happening here in Ohio, but other cities. So does this kind of give the whole intuition of, can we call police? Will they help us? What message does that send to younger people, older people looking for that help?
It sends a message that we as African Americans cannot, even in a model city, expect respect and constitutional policing. We cannot even hope that we will receive help when called upon to the police.
Can you talk about the circumstances that got police there? I heard some people say, help was needed, obviously, police were called. What precipitated before that got the call in the first place?
There was a normal, heated disagreement between Christian and his father. His father thought, hey, maybe I can get some officers here, we can talk and try to figure this out. And he thought that when he called, because he lives in Cleveland Heights, model community, that they would come and they would be able to figure this out together.
And the gun, was it a family gun? There was a gun in the house?
As you know, the same information you guys have, the lack of information is the lack of information we have. Christian and his father were having a discussion or an argument, and he was told to leave the house. So we don't have all of that information at the moment. Now let me remind you of who Farrell Thomas is. Farrell Thomas is a wonderful father. To be frankly honest with you, he has been Father of the Year 2 times in our local community. We have this thing called Fatherhood Initiative. He has been the Father of the Year twice because of how he loved and parented his children. And so a man with that much love and compassion, a model father in a model community, calls out for help. And his last words as he leaves the house is, "Don't kill my son." As they make him leave the house, he says, "Don't kill my son."
Yes.
Okay? And he's left with the death of his son because he called for help. Because that officer wasn't properly trained, didn't know what he was doing. The other officers didn't take in compassion that this young man needed help. There was no plan. You can tell that from the video. If he experiences that, the rest of us have nothing else to look forward to. Father of the Year. I haven't received a Father of the Year, but I hope one day I will. But a model community, model father, you can't ask for better circumstances, but with worse results. The worst possible results. And as a black male, we go home to our sons and our daughters, and we have to look at them in the face and understand that this world, even in a model community, we are left with this.
Yes, sir.
We are no better than we were 4 years ago.
Yes, sir. Make it plain.
That's unacceptable.
I'm curious, because I mean, we hear this story a lot, especially a hostage negotiation, for example. The crisis management team's on hand and they try and make contact with the person holding somebody hostage. Let's say that's the situation. In this situation, was the crisis management team, do you know if they were on hand, and do you know if at any time they tried to make contact with a Christian to talk to Christian?
From what I can tell from the limited video that we received, there was discussion, but they were not there. From what I can tell from the limited body cam footage that I received, that you guys may have received, and we're left to be our own investigators, right? Which is fine if we have all of the evidence. But from what I can tell, no. There was no crisis team there. We know that they received funds 2 years ago from the county for that, so they're well equipped for it, and they should have had it there.
I apologize, but just to follow up, we did not hear this earlier, but I think we can confirm that Farrell was actually outside of the house. They had gotten him outside of the house into safety, and it was just Christian that was left inside.
Yes.
Okay.
So Farrell was inside the house. They commanded him to come out. He said to them, "I'm not going to leave my son," in fear of potentially, once he looked out the door, he saw officers. When he left, when he came out reluctantly, all he asked them to do was to not kill his son.
How many shots were fired and what were they fired at from inside the house?
We don't know that because we don't have that information.
Parents Dad didn't know because he was there?
Dad was outside. Dad was inside. There was an incident that took place inside, and then he went outside.
How many shots were inside when that incident happened?
We don't have all of that information.
Who is hoping someone from the family, friends? You said Christian was a spelling bee champ. He was a saxophonist. Does anyone from the friends or family want to paint, give us a picture of who Christian is and who he was and how he grew up or anything?
So I think they're okay. Christian's uncle. I want you guys to understand that one thing about a black community is that fathers matter. We have a lot of black men that are here today that supported and loved Christian. As you can see, they're all here. They were a part of his village. And this is a beautiful family and a beautiful community that received the worst of the police department. This is his uncle, John Thomas. Thank you.
So first and foremost, Christian knows God. He was an active member of the church, of plenty of churches throughout his 18 years. I think that's the best and the thing that I know the most about my nephew is that he knows God, he knew God, he was in his word, he was active in the church, and he loves his family. God bless the results.
Thank you. So at this time, we won't take any more questions. We appreciate you coming out. As the media, we know that you guys also have an interest in the video. We would respect if you guys would be vigilant in pursuing that. And here's to hoping that Cleveland Heights will, although it's a model community, it will be model in the way that it responds to this. Unfortunately, at this moment, they have not. And we will, at the Cochran firm, as you very well know, be very aggressive and vigilant in getting that video and getting other answers that this family deserves. Thank you very much.
Dan DeRose with 19 News. We've been hearing from family and the attorney for the Thomas family. Want to be very transparent. There were a lot of accusations made in this news conference. Those are simply accusations by the family and by their attorney. Words like overzealous and doctoring of reports. Those are simply just accusations at this point. They were asked a couple of times, the attorney was asked a couple of times about the gun inside the house. And first of all, where that gun came from. Was it Christian's gun? Was it the father's gun? They chose not to answer that. They said, we don't have all the facts. That's you have to be from an outsider's perspective to say, well, wait a second, the father is right there. You could ask him. That's where this was difficult. This is a one-sided news conference, just as when the police chief gave his news conference, that was one-sided. So we will have to wait for this investigation to play out. The family is asking for transparency. They want it to be done now. That's simply not the speed at which investigations go. We have been given 2 body cams by the police department today, by the Cleveland Heights Police Department. We are going over those 2, but as you heard from the attorney, he is implying that there are more than just 2 body cameras, and he wants all of them released. I think that goes without saying. People want to see what officers saw that day. Did Christian exit the house with the gun? Did he lift it at any point? Did he fire it at any point once he was outside the house? Keep in mind, there had been 2 shots fired inside the house. And again, the family and the attorney did not want to get into the basis around those shots, just simply saying we don't have all the facts. So when were those shots fired inside the house? Who were they fired at? And the family attorney saying we don't have all the facts. We're going to wait for this investigation to play out, but you heard our Winnie Dortch was at this news conference, and we'll have the very latest in our evening newscasts that start at 3 o'clock on Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps